Along the Gulf Coast, Mobile Bay is a part of a lot of people's lives. You know, they love seafood, going out there for a swim, but how clean is the bay?
That's a good question. Fox 10 News investigative reporter Katie Weiss has been working for the last month to find the answer. Katie?
Well, Bob Lanise, I found eating some seafood from Mobile Bay could pose a danger to your health. State agencies have prohibited shellfish harvesting and oyster growing in the northern end of the bay because of pollution concerns. Now, that prompted me to take a closer look at what's accumulating in the bay, even testing the sediment at the bottom. Now, some fishermen are telling me they'll think twice before biting into their fresh catch.
It's depressing.
Golly, it's making me uncomfortable.
This is a safety hazard.
What was once their safe haven for some tasty seafood
I wouldn't throw nothing back.
is now a big concern.
Well, I like to eat. I love seafood, but I don't know what is in it.
I collected 13 years of sediment testing data from the Army Corps of Engineers. The Corps tests the sediment at the bottom of the bay before they begin to dredge it. According to their testing reports, arsenic and mercury are two of the most prevalent metal pollutants to have been found in Mobile Bay's sediment. When the southern end of the bay was tested in 2014, more than half of the samples had arsenic levels above the threshold effects level used by government agencies, which means the pollutant could have a negative effect on the aquatic life nearby. In 2010, documents show the Corps found elevated arsenic levels in every sediment sample taken, spanning the entire length of the bay. In 2006, the Corps tested the northern end of the bay near the mouth of the Mobile River. Half of those samples tested had mercury levels above the threshold, also posing a threat to marine life. According to the EPA, both arsenic and mercury can bioaccumulate, which means as those contaminants are ingested, they build up in the body over time, threatening the health of predators like humans as the pollutant makes its way up the food chain.
We all secure it.
With that in mind, we set out to do our own testing, sampling 4 locations in the bay. The eastern tip of Dauphin Island, and you can see that this is the mouth of Mobile Bay, which leads out into the Gulf of Mexico. The Fairhope Pier, there we go. Just south of the Mobile River, the stuff that was underneath is a dark, dark black color. And just outside the Theodore Industrial Canal. Well, at this point, I'm not really sure what I'm holding, but you can see it's pretty black. Something that was lent to us by the Dauphin Island Sea Lab. It's called a petite ponar, and this is a device that's going to help us scoop up the sediment from the bottom of the bay and bring it back up to the surface here. The petite ponar works like a pair of jaws. The device is lowered into the water with a rope, and when it hits the bottom, the jolt releases a trigger, allowing the jaws to clamp down on the sediment, securely holding the sample inside as you pull the device back up to the surface. It's pretty heavy, so I'm getting a bit of a workout. It worked. Now what we have to do is we're going to release what's inside of this box into this tub, and from there we'll scoop out a sample into a plastic bag. At all 4 locations, I repeated the same task, bagging up the murky bottom, labeling it, and keeping it in a cooler to be preserved. Then we shipped our samples to a soil laboratory at the University of Georgia to be tested for 13 different metal pollutants. Dr. Jason Lessel supervised.
And then from there we do an acid digestion, so that we're basically stripping all of the metals off of the clay, sand, and silt particles in the sample. We digest it at a high temperature and high pressure. So we're trying to get as much of those metals off of the surface, and then we measure those.
Our samples from Dauphin Island and the Fairhope Pier had low contamination levels. Dr. Lessel says that may be because those samples had more sand than mud, making it difficult for pollutants to stick to the sediment. But our samples taken outside the Theodore Industrial Canal and the mouth of the Mobile River had more mud and clay and more contamination. Just like the Corps of Engineers, those two samples also showed arsenic levels above the threshold effects level, meaning there could be a potential for negative effects to marine life.
So that would warrant further investigation.
The mercury results in the Theodore and Mobile River samples were borderline to the threshold effects level. Dr. Lessel says the pollutant levels he found in those two samples should raise a red flag for seafood lovers. Because remember, pollutants like arsenic and mercury can accumulate in the body, posing health risks over time. According to the World Health Organization, arsenic and arsenic compounds are carcinogenic to humans, and exposure to mercury, even small amounts, may cause serious health problems, including toxic effects on the nervous, digestive, and immune systems, and on lungs, kidneys, skin, and eyes.
If this is an area where people are just swimming, there's probably very, very low level of concern. If they're fishing, or especially if they were to, say, eating any kind of bivalve, mussels, clams, oysters, if they are harvesting those kinds of animals from those waters and consuming them, then there absolutely would be a good reason to do further investigation to determine if there is any kind of health risk.
These findings seem to align with current shellfish and oyster harvesting restrictions placed in the bay. Documents show the Alabama Department of Public Health has prohibited shellfish harvesting and oyster growing in the northern section of the bay due to, quote, dangerous pollution concerns. The Mobile River is even considered an impaired body of water by the state for high mercury levels, issuing a fishing advisory for the river, warning fishermen to not eat any largemouth bass caught there due to dangerous levels of mercury in their tissues. But some locals who love to fish recreationally in those areas had no idea their health could be at risk. Did you know that this was in effect?
No, I'm glad you told me about it, 'cause I didn't hear nothing about it. That scares me. That's not good.
Did you know about these restrictions?
No, I did not. No, I did not. I see people fishing everywhere, and I have never seen the first sign about anything.
2014, they sampled here.
I also showed fishermen our sample results as well as the sediment testing data from the Corps of Engineers.
It aggravates me pretty bad because they should let people know about this. This is a safety hazard. You know, how many people's dying because of this stuff? And they're not warning them about it.
A number of things can cause high pollution levels. The Environmental Protection Agency says industrial emissions, agricultural runoff, and urban waste can all play a part. However, it's still unclear as to what specific sources may be causing concerning levels in Mobile Bay.
They need to do something about it as quick as they can.
So what are state environmental enforcers doing about the sediment quality? Well, they won't tell you. In a state water quality assessment report sent to Congress, the Alabama Department of Environmental Management, or ADEM, says it has tested the sediment for metal pollutants near shipyards, petroleum storage terminals, and other industrial sources. But it won't make a statement about the level of toxic pollutants found in those areas, quote, because no state or EPA criteria for toxins in sediment exist. But other ADEM documents show that isn't exactly true. In a manual written by ADEM, the agency clearly explains that it uses EPA screening values to determine the toxicity of sediment.
They're hiding it. They don't want the people to know just what they found.
I tried reaching out to ADEM for clarification about this discrepancy, but I haven't heard back.
Let's go walking a little bit.
Meanwhile, locals who love the bay are worried.
If anybody that eats anything out of here, I firmly believe we have the right to know what's going on in the water. If the government knows that the sediments is bad, y'all better speak up.
Now, I've taken the time to compile the 13 years worth of Corps of Engineers sediment testing data along with our FOX10 News testing results. And we've put all of that information on our website for you in an interactive map so you can see what pollutants were found in specific locations around Mobile Bay. You can go check it out right now on fox10tv.com.
Now, Katie, University of Georgia Laboratory also tested for fecal coliform.
That's right. The 4 samples that we took from Mobile Bay were also tested for fecal coliforms. That's the bacteria that's found in sewage. Now, fortunately, the bacteria counts in all 4 samples came back extremely low. With that said, Dr. Lessel tells me it's important to remember that our 4 samples are just a snapshot, and folks should double check before any swimming or fishing activity in our local waters and signing them off as safe.
And you say you've been looking further into those advisories?
That's right. You know, in the story I mentioned the shellfish harvesting restrictions as well as those mercury warnings, and it appears as though many local fishermen just aren't aware of those restrictions in place because it appears there just aren't any signs in fishing areas to warn them about the restrictions. Now, I've tried reaching out to various agencies to find out why there aren't any signs, and I'll let you know when I get a response. In the meantime, I posted some links for you on our website so you can read more about the restrictions and make sure that the seafood that you're getting is safe. It's all on our website right now. That's fox10tv.com.
Right at the homepage.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Nearly 70 years in the making, a local man on a mission to become an Eagle Scout. His story is